This last exercise builds right on the ghosted lines exercise by making it a little bit more structured and purposeful. Once you're finished lesson 1 and incorporate these exercises into your regular warm-up routine, you may opt to just do the ghosted planes exercise instead of the ghosted lines one. So, a plane. In this case, it's basically any quadrilateral or shape with 4 sides. So, It's not necessarily a rectangle or a square, and it can have sides of any length. This exercise is basically to lay out our points to establish the 4 corners of such a shape, and to draw those edges one at a time while applying the ghosting method. So you should already be reasonably familiar with this. Of course, we're always rotating our pages to find a comfortable angle of approach. And if you're still struggling with overshooting or things like that, don't worry about it. I talked about in the levels of the ghosted lines exercise that, don't worry about still struggling with parts of this technique, because you're going to get lots of mileage with it overall in the fullness of time. So once we've got our 4 corners down and our edges, we will also draw across from corner to corner. We've already got these points down. We're going to create our diagonals. And lastly, we are going to we're going to bisect this plane. So down the middle. Don't worry too much about this line necessarily going straight through the center. I'm not too concerned with that. You'll notice here that my pen's ink kind of died through the middle there. If that happens to you, don't worry about it. What matters is that the lines were drawn, not that they look perfectly solid. Although if that happens to you very often, drawing with a higher angle on your pen, like keeping it more upright, will definitely help with that. So, of course, the whole way through this, we employed the ghosting method, and we marked our start and end points, and we focused on executing that mark finally with confidence, not with wobbling, not with hesitation. Now, while we won't necessarily produce perfect results, the point is to focus on applying these 3 steps to every single mark we make, to have patience, to allow ourselves to demonstrate the best of which we are currently capable, and not to rush or feel like we're supposed to meet some arbitrary standard of speed or efficiency. And once we're done filling the whole page, it'll look something like this. So I've got my planes, reasonably large. I'm not trying to cramp them into small spaces except for maybe here, but that's just because that's the space I had left over. And I'm trying to fill up the whole page, making sure to engage my whole arm when executing these marks. And there it is. Now, this exercise also introduces us to the idea that a drawing may be complicated. It may be made up of countless lines, shapes, forms, etc., and there might be a lot of going on. You may be tempted to feel that because the line you're drawing is just one of, say, 500, that you don't need to go through all the steps, that you can skip them and focus on the big picture. And this sort of thinking can actually happen very easily without us noticing it. Where in the previous exercise, the task itself was to draw lines, and every unit of work that we did in our minds was put towards drawing a single line. Later on, we're going to be drawing boxes. And that same idea of this is the unit of work that I'm applying to this task ends up being applied to boxes, even though those boxes each consist of 6 individual lines. And so if we fall down this trap of thinking, we make the mistake of applying the same amount of effort that you once used for a single line on a whole box. And of course, that's incorrect. So no matter what you're drawing in this course, I want you to focus on executing each and every mark to the best of your current ability. That means being patient, taking your time, and going through all of the steps in every case. Do not rush.